Almost all people are hypnotics. The proper authority saw to it that the proper belief should be induced. And the people believed properly. Charles Fort. Greetings, mortals, and a capital day to all. I'm your host Simon, and this is the Library of Gnosis, your oasis out in the internet wasteland. So, you are a nation, and you have an endless military budget, and you want to put that money to work, of course. So, you invest that money into behavioral psychologists to study the population. And maybe you find out a couple of things in your research. Operant conditioning. It refers to a learning process where voluntary behaviors are modified by association with the addition or removal of reward or aversive stimuli. The frequency or duration of the behavior may increase through reinforcement or decrease through punishment. Positive reinforcement. Rewards are given for behaviors that align with the desired outcome. For instance, social approval, financial incentives, or career advancements for promoting the prevailing narrative. Negative reinforcement. Removal of adverse conditions when the desired behavior is performed, like reducing scrutiny or sanctions for compliance. The conditioning works best when positive, because it reinforces the pattern better than punishment over the long term. Pavlov's dog. Why do you think there is a bell in school? Perpetual denial conditioning. Never admit anything. Deny and deny and deny. You do not win by ever admitting defeat. A critical component is the perpetual denial by those in power. When confronted with evidence or accusations, the default response is to deny everything, creating a sense of doubt and confusion. This strategy aims to distort reality to such an extent that people begin to question their own perceptions, further entrenching the hypnotic state and causing you to deny and lose touch with reality. Repetition conditioning is a psychological technique that involves the repeated presentation of a stimulus to an individual to elicit a specific response or reinforce a particular behavior. This method leverages the principles of classical and operant conditioning, where repeated exposure to a stimulus can strengthen the association between the stimulus and the desired response. Shock and awe. Overstimulation involves overwhelming the target demographic with information and stimuli to the point of paralysis and confusion. This technique is designed to incapacitate critical thinking and create a distorted, compliant population. If you want to hypnotize a nation, you need the media, which would not be a source of truth, but a tool of manipulation. Spend all that military budget on propaganda, produce an endless amount of propaganda, really oversaturate the system. The people cannot help but see it and be impressioned by it, form opinions. Of course, people would figure out that this is propaganda eventually. So what is broadcasted or published in this nation is a part of a psychological operation designed to shape public perception and behavior. By controlling the narrative, this hidden power can manufacture consent and dissent, steering society in whichever direction it deems necessary. Every story is a calculated move, every headline a piece of the puzzle designed to keep people entranced. The reinforcement of the desired behavior and the punishment of dissident ensure that the target population remains compliant and passive. The frequency of exposure to certain narratives increases the population's acceptance to them, while the suppression of alternative viewpoints diminishes our ability to question the status quo. In the target nation, you would censor heavily, even words themselves. Some words are so important that they cannot even say them anywhere but in person behind closed doors. So the target population has to self-censor. Then it becomes a habit. It also reinforces behavioral patterns and feeds into the trance. People would be living in a maze of their own mind they manufactured for them, dazed like a Pokemon waiting for its turn. Controlled opposition. People want heroes, so you supply them with them. Controlled opposition is a strategy in which a powerful entity, such as a government or organization, creates or secretly supports a group that appears to oppose its agenda. This opposition group is manipulated to serve the interests of the powerful entity, often without the knowledge of its members or supporters. By supplying the targets with their heroes, this gives them the illusion of progress and causes the targets to become passive in their own actions, instead giving power over to an authority, which you of course already controlled. So, let us say you are trying to fool the target nation. To fool someone, you can create a distraction. Let us say you are trying to fool two different target demographics within the nation. When you have already fooled one demographic with the trick, you would of course target the demographic you had not fooled with the distractions. This demographic will know that you just tricked the other one, so it is more cautious and watching you closely. To fool this population, maybe you would fool them by doing exactly what they expect you to do. Also make it really obvious that you are doing it. This can be used as a distraction too. Covering fire. It can be used to cover in advance by distracting and suppressing the enemy. People do not know that you control both sides, so by pretending to be targeting your controlled opposition, you play into the illusion and draw attention away from yourself. The job of the puppet master is to keep the target focused on what the puppets are doing, not what the master is doing. But your military budget is endless, so you put that money to use. Dream big. Mass hypnosis. It refers to a psychological phenomenon where a large group of people are influenced or controlled through suggestive techniques, often leading to altered states of perception, belief, or behavior. This can be achieved through various methods such as persuasive speech, media, or other forms of communication that exploit the suggestibility of individuals within the group. The concept is often associated with the ability to sway public opinion, induce collective behavior, or create a shared belief system among a large audience. With these methods, you could put people of a nation in a collective trance, unable to see through the veil of deceit that has been woven around them. In these societies, it would be nearly impossible to wake somebody up from this trance. If you lived in a society like this, and you were trying to convince a fellow citizen that the current thing is wrong, you would find it extremely difficult. In this trance-like state, it is not as easy as waking somebody up that is sleepwalking. Their mind is literally asleep while they are awake, like being heavily sedated and suggestible. Politics and religion have always been taboo subjects, right? The world's a stage, and there are many actors.